The orbital palace floated above Earth like a giant crystal in the darkness of space. Inside its walls, Emperor Kale sat on his throne and watched the blue planet below. 30 years had passed since his people conquered this world. 30 years since humans became servants in his empire. Kale was over 300 years old. His skin had a slight purple tint, and his eyes glowed with a soft gold light. He was tall, almost 8 feet, and his presence made everyone nervous. The Valdris people ruled 7 star systems now. They were strong, smart, and they believed they were better than everyone else, especially humans. The Emperor looked at the report on his screen. A new servant was coming to work in his private chambers today. He didn't like changes. Changes meant risks. Changes meant someone might try to kill him or steal from him. It had happened before. "Your Majesty," a voice called out. Kyle's advisor, Vorn, entered the throne room. Vorn was older than Kale, with dark blue skin and white markings on his face. "The human woman is here with her daughter." "Send them in," Kyle said. His voice was deep and cold. The doors opened. A human woman walked in first. She was small compared to the Valdris, maybe 5.5 feet tall. Her black hair had streaks of gray in it. She wore the simple gray uniform of palace servants. This was Hana. She had worked in the palace for 15 years. Behind her walked a younger woman. She looked about 19 years old. Her black hair was pulled back in a neat style. Her eyes were dark brown and looked at the floor. She seemed scared. This was Yuna, Hana's daughter. Hana bowed deeply. Yuna copied her mother and bowed too. "Your Majesty," Hana said, "thank you for allowing my daughter to serve you. She will work hard." Kyle studied the young human. Yuna kept her eyes down. Good. She knew her place. But something about her made him curious. She held herself differently than other humans. Not proud, but not completely broken either. "You have served me well, Hana," Kyle said. "But bringing family into the palace is dangerous. Why did you request this?" Hana's hands shook a little. "My daughter has no other place to go, Your Majesty. The work camps are too harsh. I hoped. She might be safer here." "Safer?" Kyle laughed, but there was no warmth in it. "The palace has its own dangers." "Yes, Your Majesty, but I will teach her. She will not disappoint you." Kale looked at Vorn. His advisor's face showed clear disapproval. 2 humans with access to the Emperor's private rooms? It was unusual. It was risky. "She will clean my meditation chamber," Kyle said finally. "Nothing else. She touches nothing except dust and dirt. If I find one item moved, one screen accessed, one door open that should stay closed, you both leave the palace. Forever." "Yes, Your Majesty," both women said together. "Hana, take your daughter to the servants' wing. Show her the rules. She starts tomorrow." The 2 humans bowed again and left. When the doors closed, Vorn stepped closer to the throne. "This is foolish, my lord," Vorn said. "Humans cannot be trusted. They smile and serve, but inside they hate us. They remember their world before we came." "Of course they remember," Kale said. "But what can they do? We control everything. Their weapons, their communications, their lives." That girl looked terrified. "She's no threat." "The terrified ones are sometimes the most dangerous," Vorn warned. "They have nothing to lose." Kyle stood up from his throne. He was tired of this conversation. "Then we test her, like we test all new servants." "The sleeping test?" Vorn asked. "Yes. I will enter my meditation trance in 3 days. The girl will attend me alone. We will watch what she does when she thinks no one is looking." Vorn nodded slowly. "And if she fails?" "Then she goes to the work camps like all the other humans who try to be clever." In the servants' wing, Hana led Yuna through narrow hallways. The palace was huge, and Yuna tried to remember the path. Other servants passed them. Most were human. A few were from other conquered worlds. Everyone looked tired. "Listen carefully," Hana said in a quiet voice. "The Emperor is not like the other Valdris nobles. He doesn't hurt servants for fun. He doesn't waste time with cruelty, but he trusts no one." "I'll be careful, Mother," Yuna said. "Being careful isn't enough. You must be invisible. Do your work and nothing more. Don't look at things. Don't touch things. Don't speak unless spoken to. They reached a small room with 2 beds. This would be where they slept. Hana sat down and pulled Yuna next to her. "Why did you really bring me here?" Yuna asked. "The camps are terrible, but at least there I was with other young people. Here, I'm alone." Hana touched her daughter's face gently. "Because I'm getting old, Yuna. And when I die, I want to know you have a skill that keeps you alive. Palace servants eat better, sleep in real beds. If you learn well, if you survive, you might live longer than most humans do now." "Is surviving enough?" Yuna asked. Her voice was so quiet. "Is that all we do now? Just survive?" "It's all we can do," Hana said. Her eyes looked sad and old. "Our world lost the war. We are servants now. Maybe forever. Maybe your children will be servants too. But servants in the palace live better than servants in the camps. That's the best I can give you." Yuna hugged her mother. She wanted to say that things would get better, that humans would be free again someday. But she didn't believe it. The Valdris were too strong. Their ships covered the sky, their weapons could destroy cities in seconds. Earth had fought for 3 years and lost everything. That night, Yuna lay in bed and looked at the ceiling. Tomorrow she would start working in the Emperor's private chambers. She would clean the rooms where the most powerful being in 7 star systems spent his time. She felt scared. She felt small. But she also felt something else. Curiosity. What kind of person was Emperor Kale really? The stories said he was cruel and cold. But her mother, who had served him for 15 years, said he was fair. That he didn't hurt people without reason. Yuna wanted to know which story was true. She closed her eyes and thought of her grandmother's stories. Stories about Earth before the Valdris came. About oceans that stretched forever and forests full of green trees. About humans who were free to go anywhere and do anything. Those stories felt like dreams now. Beautiful dreams from a world that didn't exist anymore. Tomorrow, she would enter the Emperor's world. Tomorrow, her real test would begin. She just didn't know it yet. 3 days passed quickly. Yuna learned the palace routines. She learned which hallways to use and which to avoid. She learned to walk quietly and keep her eyes down. She cleaned the Emperor's outer chambers while Hana worked in other parts of the palace. Emperor Kale watched her during those 3 days. He saw how she moved carefully around his things. How she never touched anything she wasn't supposed to clean. How she worked fast and left quickly. She seemed perfect. Too perfect, maybe. On the morning of the 4th day, Hana came to wake Yuna early. "Today is different," Hana said. Her face looked worried. "The Emperor is entering his meditation trance." "What does that mean?" Yuna asked. "The Valdris do this before making big decisions. They go into a deep sleep for 3 days. During this time, their minds work on problems. They cannot wake up. They cannot move. They are completely helpless." Yuna felt confused. Why would the Emperor do something that makes him helpless? It's their tradition, their religion, maybe. I don't fully understand it. Hana held Yuna's hands tight. "But listen to me. You will be alone with him during this time. I have been assigned to work in the lower levels. Only you will attend his chamber." "Why only me?" "I don't know. But Yuna, you must be very careful. This feels like a test." "A test of what?" "Of your loyalty, your honesty. Maybe he wants to see what you do when you think no one is watching." Hana's eyes filled with fear. "Do exactly your job and nothing more. Clean what needs cleaning. Check his vital signs like you've been taught. But don't look at his computers. Don't touch his weapons. Don't go near his communication devices. Promise me." "I promise, Mother." Later that morning, Vorn came to the servants' wing. He led Yuna to the Emperor's meditation chamber. This room was different from the others. It was circular and dim. In the center was a large bed, more like a platform. Strange symbols covered the walls. They glowed with soft blue light. Emperor Kale stood beside the bed. He wore simple robes instead of his usual armor. He looked at Yuna with those gold eyes. "You will attend me during my trance," he said. "Every 6 hours you will check the displays by my bed. They show my vital signs. If any of the lights turn red, you will call for medical staff immediately. Do you understand? Yes, Your Majesty, Yuna said. Her voice was steady, but her heart beat fast. You will also maintain the room temperature. The controls are on that wall. Keep it at the level I have set. The room must stay clean. You may come and go as needed for your duties, but you will not touch anything else in this room. Nothing. Is that clear? Yes, Your Majesty. Kale stared at her for a long moment. Then he lay down on the platform. I begin now. For 3 days, I will not move or speak. You will see me breathing, that is all. Remember your instructions. Yes, Your Majesty. Emperor Kale closed his eyes. His body relaxed. Within seconds, he looked completely asleep. His chest rose and fell slowly. The displays beside the bed showed steady green lights. Vorn touched Yuna's shoulder. She jumped a little. Remember, human, Vorn said quietly. We are always watching. Even when you cannot see us, we see you. He left the room. The door closed with a soft sound. Yuna stood alone with the sleeping emperor. She waited for a few minutes, just standing there. Then she started her work. She cleaned the floor carefully. She dusted the shelves along the walls. She checked that everything was neat and proper. All the while, she tried not to look at the emperor. But it was hard not to look. He was right there, completely helpless. The most powerful being in 7 star systems, lying there like any person sleeping. He looked different when he wasn't on his throne. Less scary. Almost peaceful. Yuna finished her cleaning. She checked the vital sign displays. All green lights. She checked the temperature controls. Everything was correct. She had nothing else to do. She looked around the room. On one shelf, she saw datapads. Maybe they had information about the palace defense systems, about where human prisoners were kept, about the codes to send messages to Earth's resistance fighters. No. She shook her head. That was exactly what they expected her to do. Vorn's words echoed in her mind. We are always watching. Yuna left the chamber. She went to eat a small meal in the servants' wing. Then she returned to check on the emperor again. Still sleeping. Still green lights. She cleaned a bit more, though the room didn't really need it. Then she left again. This pattern continued all day. Every 6 hours she came to check. Every time everything was normal. The emperor never moved. He barely seemed to breathe. If not for the displays showing his vital signs, she might think he was dead. In the hidden control room, Emperor Kale watched through sensors. He could see everything from his closed eyes. The Valdris trance was not really sleep. It was a state where the body rested but the mind stayed alert. He could see, hear, and understand everything around him. But he could not move, could not react. It took great discipline. She does nothing, Vorn said, watching the screens beside Kale. She cleans, she checks, she leaves. Very boring. Kale's mind formed words, though his body could not speak them. Good. That's what most servants do on the first day. They are too scared. The second day is when they get brave. The first day ended. Yuna returned to her room exhausted. Not from hard work, but from stress. Being alone with the Emperor was terrifying. Every moment, she expected something to go wrong, but nothing did. The second day began. Yuna entered the meditation chamber for her morning check. She looked at the displays, green lights. She looked at the temperature controls. Then she stopped. Something was wrong. The temperature reading was lower than it should be, much lower. The room felt cold. How did that happen? Yuna checked the controls. The system showed a malfunction. The heating had turned off during the night. She looked at the Emperor. Was the cold hurting him? She didn't know much about Valdris biology, but she remembered Hana saying they came from a warm planet. They didn't like cold. Yuna could just report the malfunction and leave. Someone else would fix it eventually. That would be the safe thing to do. But how long would that take? What if the cold was dangerous for him? She stared at the controls. She had learned basic system operations during her training. It wouldn't be hard to fix. But she wasn't supposed to touch anything except cleaning supplies and the vital sign displays. Emperor Kale, watching through his sensors, saw her hesitate. Here it comes, he thought. She'll either leave him to suffer, or she'll try to access the controls to cause more damage. Either way, she fails the test, but Yuna didn't leave. She didn't cause damage either. She accessed the controls and carefully reset the heating system. It took her a few tries, but she figured it out. Warm air began flowing into the room again. She checked 3 times to make sure it was working correctly. Then she did something unexpected. She went to the storage closet and found an extra thermal blanket. She brought it back and gently placed it over the sleeping emperor. She was very careful not to disturb him. Her hands were gentle, almost tender. Kale felt the warmth of the blanket. He felt the care in how she placed it. His mind went quiet with surprise. This wasn't in the test. Nobody had ever done this before. Yuna stepped back from the emperor and looked at what she had done. She had fixed the temperature. She had brought him a blanket. These were good things, helpful things. But would he see them that way? Or would he think she had touched too much? Fear filled her chest. Maybe she should take the blanket away. Pretend she never put it there. But no, that would be worse. What was done was done. She turned to leave, but then she noticed something else. The emperor's hand lay near the edge of the platform. There was a small cut on his finger. Dried blood marked the wound. It must have happened before he entered the trance. It wasn't serious, but it should be cleaned and covered. In the hidden control room, Vorn leaned forward. What is she looking at? Through his sensors, Kale focused on the girl's face. She was staring at his hand. At the cut. What would she do? Ignore it? Use it to hurt him somehow? Yuna bit her lip. She should leave. This wasn't her job, but the cut could get infected. Even powerful emperors could get infections, couldn't they? She went to the medical cabinet on the wall. Every chamber had one for emergencies. Inside, she found cleaning solution and bandages. She brought them back to the platform. Very gently, she lifted the emperor's hand. It was heavy and warm. She cleaned the cut carefully, making sure not to cause pain. Then she wrapped a small bandage around his finger. The whole time, her touch was soft and steady. Incredible, Vorn whispered in the control room. She's helping him. Actually, helping him. Kyle's mind struggled to understand. In 300 years, through dozens of these tests, no servant had ever done this. They stole. They tried to access computers. They took pictures of documents. They did nothing and left. But help? Care for his actual well-being? Never. Yuna finished bandaging the cut. She placed the emperor's hand back down gently. Then she cleaned up the medical supplies and put them away. She checked the vital signs one more time. All green. She checked the temperature. Perfect now. She should leave. Her work was done. But she felt strange. Here was this powerful being who had conquered her world, who kept her people as servants, who could kill her with a word. And yet, he was lying there helpless, vulnerable, just a person sleeping. Yuna sat down in the chair near the wall. She knew she should go, but something made her stay a little longer. I wonder what you dream about, she said quietly. She wasn't talking to him really, just talking to herself. The room felt so quiet and empty. Do emperors dream? Do you see things from your past? Good things or bad things? She looked around the chamber. It was beautiful but cold. Everything was clean and perfect. But there were no personal items, no pictures, no objects that showed what the emperor cared about, just symbols and technology. It looked lonely. My mother says you're not cruel for fun, Yuna continued. Her voice was barely a whisper. She says you're just alone, that you've been powerful for so long, you forgot how to trust anyone. In the control room, Kale's mind went completely still. How did this human girl understand that? How could she see what even his own advisors missed? I don't remember much about Earth before, Yuna said. She pulled her knees up to her chest. I was young when the war ended. But my grandmother told me stories about forests where trees grew so tall they touched the sky, about oceans so wide you couldn't see the other side, about cities full of lights and people who laughed. Her eyes looked sad. My grandmother died 2 years ago, in a work camp. She got sick and there was no medicine for humans, just for Valdris. She died remembering a world that doesn't exist anymore. Kyle felt something twist in his chest. He hadn't thought about the humans who died. They were just numbers and reports, statistics, not people with grandmothers and memories. But she wasn't angry when she died, Una said. She told me to remember the good things, to hold on to hope, even when hope seems stupid. Una laughed a little. Hope does seem stupid now. What is there to hope for? We lost. It's over. She stood up and walked closer to the platform. She looked down at the Emperor's face. But my mother still hopes. She hopes I'll survive. She hopes I'll have a better life than she did. And maybe that's enough. Maybe hoping for small things is better than not hoping at all. Una reached out, then stopped. She shouldn't touch the Emperor. But her hand moved anyway, very gently touching the edge of the blanket, straightening it a bit. I don't hate you, she whispered. I think I should. You conquered my world. You made my people into servants. But I don't hate you. I don't know you enough to hate you. And hating someone I don't know seems empty. She turned away. My mother says hatred eats you from inside, makes you sick, makes you do stupid things. Better to just survive. Just keep going. One day after another. Una started humming. It was an old tune, a lullaby her mother used to sing when Una was small. She hummed it while she did a final check of the room. She hummed it while she straightened the chair. She hummed it while she made sure everything was perfect. The sound filled the chamber, soft and gentle. In the control room, Vorn had tears in his eyes, though he didn't know why. The melody was simple but beautiful. It spoke of safety and comfort and love. Kale's mind listened to every note. He had heard 1,000,000 songs from 100 worlds, battle hymns, victory celebrations, court performances. But this simple human lullaby touched something deep inside him, something he thought was dead. When had anyone last sung for him? When had anyone last cared if he was comfortable or hurt or alone? He couldn't remember. Maybe never. Emperors didn't need comfort. They needed power and fear and respect. That's what everyone told him. That's what he believed. But lying there, with a blanket keeping him warm and a bandage on his cut and a girl humming a lullaby, Kale felt something he hadn't felt in 300 years. He felt cared for. Una finished humming. She took a deep breath and headed for the door. At the doorway, she stopped and looked back one more time. Sleep well, Your Majesty, she said softly. Whatever dreams you have, I hope they're good ones. The door closed behind her. In the meditation chamber, Emperor Kale lay completely still. But inside, his mind was chaos. In the control room, Vorn stood up. His hands were shaking. My lord, what just happened? But Kale couldn't answer. He was locked in his trance for one more day. One more day to think about what he had seen, what he had felt, what he had learned. The test was supposed to reveal the human girl's true nature, her greed or hatred or fear. Instead, it had revealed something else entirely. Something that shook the foundations of everything Kale believed. Humans weren't primitive. They weren't simple. They weren't incapable of higher emotions. This girl had shown more genuine compassion in 1 hour than most Valdris showed in their entire lives. And Kale, the great emperor who conquered 7 star systems, who commanded millions of soldiers who held the power of life and death over countless beings, had no idea what to do with that information. All he knew was that when he woke up from this trance, everything would be different. He would be different. Because of one human girl who fixed his temperature, bandaged his cut, and sang him a lullaby. The second day ended. One more day to go. But Kale already knew the test was over. Una had passed in a way he never expected. And somehow, impossibly, he had failed. Failed to see. Failed to understand. Failed to recognize what was right in front of him all along. Humanity. The third day came and went. Yuna continued her duties. She checked on the Emperor every 6 hours. She made sure he was comfortable. She hummed that lullaby sometimes, not even realizing she was doing it. The room felt less scary now, more peaceful. When the 3 days ended, Emperor Kale opened his eyes. He sat up slowly. His body felt stiff from not moving, but his mind felt clear. Too clear, maybe. Everything he saw during the trance played in his thoughts like a recording he couldn't stop. Vorn entered the chamber immediately. "My lord, how do you feel?" "Different," Kyle said. His voice was quiet. "Different how?" Kyle didn't answer. He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Earth turned slowly in the darkness. That blue planet full of humans. Full of people like Yuna. Had he been wrong about all of them? "Bring me the surveillance files," Kale said. "My lord, I can summarize what happened. The girl—" "I know what happened. I saw it all. But I want the files anyway." Vorn bowed and left. Kyle stood alone in his chamber. He touched the bandage on his finger. She had done this. A human girl who had every reason to hate him had taken care of a small wound. Why? The answer came to him clearly. Because she was kind. Not because she wanted reward or promotion. Not because she was afraid of punishment. Just because kindness was part of who she was. Kyle had spent 300 years believing that kindness was weakness, that mercy was for fools, that only strength and fear mattered. But what if he was wrong? Vorn returned with a data pad. "The surveillance files, my lord." Kale took the pad but didn't look at it. "What is your opinion of the human girl?" Vorn hesitated. "She is surprising. In all our tests, no servant has ever behaved this way." "That's not an opinion, that's a fact." "Then my opinion is this," Vorn said carefully. "She is either the most cunning human I have ever seen, playing a role to gain your trust, or she is genuine. And if she is genuine, then everything we believe about humans might be incorrect." "Which do you think she is?" "I think she is genuine, my lord. And that frightens me." Kyle nodded. "It frightens me too." Over the next few days, Emperor Kale watched Yuna carefully. He gave her small tasks and problems to solve. He wanted to see if her kindness was real or just an act. One day, he spilled ink across an important document on purpose. He waited to see what she would do. Yuna saw the spill and immediately tried to clean it. She used careful techniques to save most of the writing. She didn't panic. She didn't blame anyone. She just fixed it. Another day, he left a valuable artifact in a careless place. Easy to steal. Easy to hide. Yuna dusted around it and put it back in its proper place. She never even hesitated. He created situations where she had to choose between helping herself or helping others. Every time she chose others. When another servant got sick, Yuna gave up her break time to cover their work. When the kitchen had extra food, she made sure the older servants got portions first. Cal started asking her questions during her duties. Simple things at first. "Where did you learn to fix heating systems?" he asked one day. Yuna looked surprised that he was talking to her. "My mother taught me basic maintenance, Your Majesty. She said knowing how to fix things keeps you valuable." "And the medical training?" "Same. She taught me everything she knows. She wants me to survive." "Do you want to survive?" Kyle asked. "Or do you want more than that?" Yuna thought about this. "I want to survive. But I also want to matter. I want my life to mean something, even if it's small." "What would make your life matter?" "Helping people, making things a little better, even tiny things, like fixing a broken heater or bandaging a cut." She paused. "Does that sound stupid?" "No," Kyle said quietly. "It sounds wise." These conversations continued. Slowly, carefully, Kale learned about Yuna. About her hopes and fears. About her mother and her dead grandmother. About Earth and humans and what they had lost. And the more he learned, the more his view of the world changed. One evening, Kale was walking through the palace when he heard voices. He stopped and listened. It was coming from a storage room. He looked inside and saw Yuna with 3 other human servants. They sat in a circle. Yuna was teaching them to read. This was forbidden. Educated servants were considered dangerous. They might organize, rebel, spread ideas. Kale should arrest them all, send them to work camps. But he just watched. Yuna's voice was patient as she helped an older man sound out words. The man's face showed such joy when he finally read a complete sentence. "Good," Yuna said, clapping. "See, you can do it. Learning isn't just for young people." "Thank you," the old man said. Tears ran down his face. "Thank you for giving me back my mind." Kyle backed away quietly. He returned to his chambers and sat in the dark for a long time. The next day, he called Vorn to him. "I want a report," Kyle said. "A complete report on how humans are treated in all my territories. Work camps, factories, service centers, everything." Vorn looked uncomfortable. "My lord, such a report would take weeks to compile." "Then start now." "May I ask why?" Kyle looked at his advisor. "Because I think we may have made mistakes, serious mistakes, and I need to see the truth." Vorn bowed and left. Kale knew what the reports would show. He had ignored the details for 30 years. But pieces came back to him now. Families separated, children forced into labor, cultural items destroyed, people dying from lack of medical care. He had called it necessary order. But what if it was just cruelty? 3 weeks later, the reports came. Kyle read them all. Every page, every number, every complaint that had been filed and ignored. The reality was worse than he imagined. Humans weren't treated as servants. They were treated as animals, barely fed, worked to exhaustion, punished for small mistakes, killed sometimes, just as examples. One report made him stop reading. A work camp manager had beaten a human woman to death for dropping a tool. The manager faced no punishment. The report was filed and forgotten. Kale threw the data pad across the room. It shattered against the wall. He was breathing hard, angry, not at the reports, at himself. He had allowed this. He had looked away. He had told himself it was necessary. There was a knock at his door. "Enter," he said. Yuna came in with cleaning supplies. She saw the broken data pad and the scattered papers. "Your Majesty, are you all right?" "No," Kyle said. He didn't hide it. "I'm not all right." Yuna set down her supplies. "Can I help?" "How can you help? You're—" He stopped. He was about to say just a human. But those words wouldn't come out anymore. They felt wrong, poisonous. "I'm what, Your Majesty?" "You're kind," Kale said. "Too kind for this place, too kind for me." Yuna looked confused. "I don't understand." Kale stood up. He walked to her. He was so much taller that she had to look up to see his face. "When I was in my trance," he said, "I saw what you did. I heard what you said. You fixed the temperature, you bandaged my cut, you sang for me." "Why?" Yuna's face turned red. I just thought you might need help. But I conquered your world. I made your people into servants. Why would you help me?" "Because you needed help," Yuna said simply. "And I could give it. That's enough reason, isn't it?" Kale stared at her. This small human with her simple logic had broken something inside him. Something that needed to be broken. "You're right," he said. "That should be enough reason. For everything." The next day, Emperor Kale called an emergency council meeting. All his advisors and noble houses gathered. They expected to discuss military matters or trade agreements. Instead, Kale announced his intention to reform how humans were treated throughout the empire. The council chamber exploded with angry voices. Reform? For humans? Impossible, dangerous, foolish. The council chamber filled with chaos. Valdris nobles shouted over each other. Some were angry, some were confused. All of them disagreed with Emperor Kale's plan. "This is madness!" Lord Thane, the military commander, stood up. "Humans are conquered people. If we give them rights, they will rebel." "They are already humans with thoughts and feelings," Kale said calmly. "We cannot change that by treating them poorly." "They are tools," Lady Vera shouted. "Useful tools, yes, but tools nonetheless. You cannot give tools equal rights." "Watch me," Kale said. His voice was cold and firm. The nobles fell silent. They had never heard their emperor speak this way. Usually, Kale was practical, logical. He made decisions based on strategy and power. This was different. This was emotional. You have all lost your minds over one human girl, Vorn said quietly. He was the only one who knew about Yuna. My lord, with respect, you are letting personal feelings cloud your judgment. No, Kyle said. My feelings are finally clearing my judgment. For 30 years, I have been blind. We all have been. We told ourselves that humans were less than us, that they didn't feel pain or loss the way we do. But we were wrong. He activated a large display screen. Images appeared. Humans in work camps. Children separated from parents. People dying from neglect. The nobles looked away. This is what we have done, Kale said. This is our empire, built on suffering, maintained by cruelty. And for what? Does it make us stronger? Does it make us better? Or does it just make us monsters? It makes us rulers, Lord Thane said. That's what conquerors do. Then maybe we need to stop being conquerors and start being leaders. The chamber erupted again. Several noble houses threatened to withdraw their support. Some even talked of rebellion. Kale let them shout. He had expected this. Finally, he raised his hand. Silence fell. I am not asking for your permission, Kale said. I am informing you of my decision. Over the next 10 years, humans will gradually receive full citizenship in this empire. They will have access to education, healthcare, and fair wages. Families will be reunited. Children will be removed from labor. Work camps will be closed and converted to proper housing. Impossible, someone shouted. It will bankrupt the empire, another said. Then we find new ways to create wealth, Kale replied. Ways that don't require treating people like animals. People? Lord Thane laughed bitterly. They are humans, not people. Yes, Kale said firmly. They are people, and I will show you proof. He sent for Yuna. She came to the council chamber, terrified. She had never been in a room with so many Valdris nobles before. They all stared at her like she was an insect. This is Yuna, Kale said. She serves in my private chambers. During my last meditation trance, I tested her as I test all new servants. I observed her actions when she believed no one was watching. The nobles leaned forward. This was interesting. Tests revealed truth. What did she do? Lady Vera asked. Did she try to steal? Access classified information? No, Kyle said. She fixed my heating system when it broke. She bandaged a cut on my hand. She brought me a blanket to keep me warm. And she sang me a lullaby. The chamber went completely silent. The nobles looked at each other, confused. That's it, Lord Thane said. That's your proof? She did servant tasks? She showed compassion, Kale said. She cared for someone who had conquered her world, someone she had every reason to hate. She helped me not because I ordered it, but because it was the right thing to do. He walked over to Yuna, who stood shaking with fear. Tell them, Kale said gently. Why did you help me? Yuna's voice was barely a whisper. Because you needed help, Your Majesty. Even though I'm your enemy? You're not my enemy. You're just a person. And people help each other. That's what makes us, us. Some nobles laughed, but others looked thoughtful. Vorn, especially, seemed moved. My lord, Vorn said slowly, even if this girl is exceptional, that doesn't mean all humans are like her. You're right, Kale agreed, but it means they can be. We never gave them the chance. We assumed they were less than us and treated them accordingly. But what if we're wrong? What if they're just people who have been beaten down for so long that they forgot how to stand up? He turned back to the council. I am implementing the Human Integration Act immediately. Any noble house that refuses will lose their territory and title. Any abuse of human workers will be investigated and punished. This is not a debate. This is law. The council meeting ended badly. Half the noble houses walked out in anger. Several threatened open rebellion. But Kale didn't care. He had made his decision. Over the next few days, word spread through the empire. The emperor had lost his mind. He was giving rights to humans. Some Valdris thought it was a joke. Others were furious. A few, very few, thought it might be a good idea. Una became famous without wanting to. People called her the Emperor's human. Some said she had used magic or trickery. Others said she was just lucky. But everyone knew her name. One night, assassins came for Emperor Kale. They were Valdris nobles who believed he had betrayed his own species. They attacked him in his private chambers with plasma weapons. Una was there, cleaning before bed. She saw the weapons charging. She didn't think. She just moved. She threw herself in front of the Emperor. The plasma bolt hit her instead. She screamed and fell. Her side was burned badly. The pain was terrible. Kale's guards arrived and killed the assassins. But Kale only cared about Una. He picked her up carefully and ran to the medical bay himself. He wouldn't let anyone else carry her. "Stay with me," he said as medical staff worked on her burns. "Please stay with me." Una's eyes were closed. Her breathing was weak. Hana arrived and held her daughter's hand, crying. "Why?" Hana asked the Emperor through her tears. "Why did she do that?" "Because she's kind," Kyle said. His voice broke. "Because that's who she is." Una survived. The medical technology of the Valdris saved her life, but the recovery would take weeks. Kyle visited her every day. He sat by her bed and talked to her, even when she was too weak to talk back. "You changed everything," he told her once. "One person, one moment of kindness, and everything changed." When Una finally woke up fully, she found the Emperor sitting beside her bed. "Why are you here?" she asked. Her voice was rough from pain medication. "Where else would I be? Running an empire? The empire can wait. You're more important." Una smiled weakly. "That's a strange thing for an emperor to say." "I'm learning to say strange things. You taught me." Over the following months, the empire slowly changed. It wasn't easy. Some noble houses rebelled and had to be dealt with. Some humans didn't trust the new laws and thought it was a trick. But gradually, things improved. Work camps closed. Families reunited. Human children went to schools instead of factories. It wasn't perfect. It would take years, maybe generations, to fix all the damage. But it was a start. Una became the first human cultural advisor to the Emperor. She helped create policies that respected human needs and dignity. She was young and scared most of the time, but she did her best. One day, Kale found her on an observation deck, looking at Earth. "Do you want to go back?" he asked. "Back?" "To Earth, to live there. You don't have to stay in the palace." Una thought about this. "Will you keep trying to make things better, even when it's hard?" "Yes, I promise." "Then I'll stay. Someone needs to make sure you remember your promises." She smiled at him. "Besides, you still need someone to fix your heating system when it breaks." Kyle laughed. It was the first time he had laughed in centuries. Really laughed, not the cold amusement of a ruler. This was warm and real. "Yes," he said. "I suppose I do." Years passed. The Human Integration Act slowly changed the empire. Humans became teachers, doctors, engineers, and even government officials. Not all Valdris accepted it, but enough did that the change became permanent. And in the palace, Emperor Kale learned what it meant to trust someone, to care for someone, to be more than just a ruler. He learned these things from a human girl who once fixed his heater and sang him a lullaby. Sometimes, late at night, when Kale couldn't sleep, Una would hum that old tune, the same lullaby from years ago. It still brought him peace. It still reminded him that power without compassion was just cruelty with a crown. The empire would never be perfect. But it was better. And better was enough. Better was how revolutions began. Not with weapons or wars, but with small acts of kindness that grew into something larger than anyone imagined. One person. One moment. One choice to be kind. That was all it took to change everything.